Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For the last 3 days of budget debate, I have listened to the members of the opposition contribution on budget 2023. And every contributor who stood up to speak of no substance. They're clueless, incompetent. All they do is to come here to this honorable house to insult the Guyanese population by making a public statement that they do not support budget 2023. Every member repeatedly make it public that they do not support the budget. Mr. Speaker, I would like to respond to Honorable Dawn Hastings, who just stepped out. I would have been happy if she had been sitting here. Mr. Speaker, indeed, Doctor's Quarter in Kako was constructed, but was an empty building. It was not furnished by the APNU-AFC. That is why Doctor went in and come out, because it was not furnished by APNU-AFC. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Dawn Hastings, Minister, who was Minister of Communities responsible for water. She did not do any major project in Upper Mazaruni. She ignored the water system in Camarang. She then became Minister of State. She did not use her high office to solve the overcrowding at Desiree Cesar Fox Secondary. She ignored that school as a Minister of State. Honorable, of course. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Dawn Hastings again spoke about land case in Upper Mazaruni, which, even though I respect the court ruling, I want to put on the record, she did not tell the whole story. It is the PNC President, Desmond Hoy then, who handed over reduced land title to 2 shows in Upper Mazaruni. If you don't know, just put it on the record today. I was 10 years old then at Ramadan when that was handed over by Desmond Hoy. It was a political gimmick just before election in 1991. So it was not the PPP who fooled the Amerindian people. It was the PNC led by youth Desmond Hoy who reduced the land title and who put the Amerindian people in Upper Maz at stake and who put the lives of Amerindian Upper Mazaruni in the court. And it's not the PPP government. Mr. Speaker, before I can begin my contribution, I would like to commend Honorable Senior Minister in the Office of the President with the responsibility of Finance, Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh, and his staff at the Ministry of Finance for working assiduously to bring the budget at the right time. Mr. Speaker, the People's Progressive Party Civic, since assuming office on 2nd August 2020, have been fulfilling its commitment outlined in its manifesto. And Budget 2023 is not exceptional. Budget 2023 is a balanced, people-centered budget addressing the pressing needs of today so that all Guyanese lives can be improved today while building prosperity for tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, Budget 2023 is a third full budget presented to this House by the PPPC government. Mr. Speaker, I want to put on record, not straying from my presentation, but to go back a little in Budget 2020, so that my Guyanese brothers and sisters who tune in today to hear our contribution must understand and remember that this year budget is a third full budget presented by the PPC government. Mr. Speaker, Budget 2020 was presented as an emergency budget in September 2020. In my view, that budget was to regularize what the APNU-AFC coalition did between 2015 and 2020. Mr. Speaker, in that budget, the People's Progressive Party Civic reversed all 200 heavily taxes, removed VAT from water light data that was imposed on all Guyanese, all citizens of Guyana, including the Amerindians and senior citizens. Not only that, Mr. Speaker, the PPPC government reinstated all policies and measures that the APNU-AFC coalition discontinued. We, the Guyanese, must not forget the hardship that was imposed on ordinary man. It is the PPPC government that brought back these policies and measures to bring disposable income to the Guyanese people. And some of the measures are the Because We Care cash grant for all school children, subsidies for senior citizens, one-off cash grant of $25,000 per household, bonus for joint services, to name a few. Mr. Speaker, The PPPC government continues to deliver yet another budget under the theme Improving Lives Today, Building Prosperity for Tomorrow. Indeed, the budget is a people-centered budget that brings relief to the ordinary. The budget before us is a budget that will improve the livelihood of all Guyanese that can bring disposable income to the pockets of all Guyanese. Mr. Speaker, I have noted remarks made by leader of the opposition, and I have in my hand the statement he made in the Kaiser News that the budget 781.9 billion as a dead meat, and a press release by the opposition leader stating that the increases of all pension are shameful, criticizing increase of all public assistance as shameful, criticizing because we care cash grant to all Guyanese children as shameful, increasing Amerindian CSO from 2,500 to 3,000 in 2023 as shameful, providing the breakfast for school children as shameful, training of our young people in health sciences as shameful.
Honorable member, you're quoting someone as saying it's shameful in the House?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Ramjatan yesterday stated that 2023 is to buy out vote. Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask honorable member, what did you do to buy votes? Nothing, absolutely nothing. That is why you are there and will be there on the opposition seat for a long, long time. Mr. Speaker, instead of buying votes, the APNUFC tried to steal Guyana democracy for 5 months, from 2nd March to...
Yeah, but I won't allow stealing either.
Mr. Speaker, I can use the word they try to hide or sink democracy of Guyana. Mr. Speaker, all they do is come here to divide Guyanese population. Use race as a bait. Mr. Speaker, we as the government, PPPC government, will not divide but rather build one Guyana. Mr. Speaker, I want to put on record that 2023 budget, 781.9 billion, is a people-centered budget regardless of which society you belong to. 4.7 billion is allocated for Amerindian development, an initiative to improve the livelihood of Amerindian people. Mr. Speaker, I want to outline some of the development programs that will be implemented in 2023. Youth will be employed under CSO program from 2,000 to 3,000 in 2023. A further 5 million is allocated for land titling project. 2.7 billion is budgeted for Amerindian Development Fund, which include training in tourism and hospitality, improvement on transportation, presidential grant, agriculture, processing, and food security. These programs will alleviate the village economy. Mr. Speaker, the vision of the PPPC government, led by His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, the Low Carbon Development Strategy 2020 vision has moved to a reality in 2022. A major milestone was achieved for Guyana. Mr. Speaker, the PPPC government is a government of one Guyana. I want to put on record that between 2015 and 2020, a sitting APNUFC government minister came to this house and said that if the Amerindian needs more land, the Amerindian must not benefit from oil revenue. And he further went to say that the Amerindians are avaricious, meaning greedy, and never apologized to date. And the Amerindians will remember and must not forget this insult to the first people of Guyana. Mr. Speaker, the PPPC government has a heart not only to the Amerindians, but to the Guyanese population. So the revenues from oil belongs to the people of Guyana, and the Amerindians will not be left behind. Mr. Speaker, the People's Progressive Party civic government has a national plan for all Guyana from all revenues, including oil and forest. I want to put on record that under the LCDS, the PPPC government has committed 15% of revenue received from forest carbon credit that will go to the Amerindian development. This will be invested in village sustainability plan produced by the Amerindian village and community. This is in addition to the national budget that the villages in the hinterland will be benefiting from. Mr. Speaker, the APNU-AFC coalition replaced the LCDS with Guyana Green State Strategy. And in that strategy, it proposes the revision of Amerindian Act through an inclusive and consensual process based on free, prior, and informed consent to address issues of concern to Amerindian people and bring the Act in line with international obligations. In 2015, the APNU-AFC, during their campaign at Cameron, Mr. Nigel Yu, that was then he was the candidate for AFC, and Honorable Don Hastings, promised that they will revise the Amerindian Act 2006 as soon as they assume office. Mr. Speaker, the APNU AFC, who now sit in the opposition, did nothing, absolutely nothing, to revise the Amerindian Act 2006. Mr. Speaker, I want to put on record that provision is given in Budget 2023 to commence consultation of the Amerindian Act 2006, and we will fulfill our promise. Mr. Speaker, let me turn to education. Our children are our future leaders for tomorrow. And my government has allocated $9.4 billion to improve infrastructure, new schools for learners. As a matter of fact, new schools were constructed at Iturumbang, Dark Point, Isano, Kurutuku. New school will be constructed and completed at Ramadan, to name a few. In 2023, the lives of education will be improved. Improve performance, level, and curricular development, textbook, teacher training on the coast and hinterland. Mr. Speaker, the PPPC government reinstated Because We Care cash grant to all school children that was discontinued or abolished by APNU and AFC in 2015 upon assuming office. In 2020-21 school year, Because We Care cash grant program was reinstated from $10,000 prior 2015 to $15,000 plus the $15,000 plus $4,000 uniform allowance that give the child $19,000 per child. In 2021-2022, it was increased to $25,000 plus $5,000 uniform allowance, giving the child $30,000 per child, disposable to the children of Guyana. And Mr. Speaker, in 2023, the People's Progressive Party Civic has increased Because We Care cash grant to almost 34%, from $25,000 to $35,000 plus $5,000 uniform allowance, giving a child of $40,000 per child. This will benefit over 214,000 school children in public and private school, and this will place additional $8.6 billion in the hands of school-age children parents. Putting in the perspective, Mr. Speaker, because of time, I have known a father and a mother who has 6 children, who struggle without the Bs, boots, bicycle boots, and all the Bs that you can think of under the APNU AFC government. Mr. Speaker, under the PPPC government, we do care about our school children. So if you do a simple maths problem solving, you will find the answer that a parent who I know of 6 children will receive $40,000 per child times 6, $240,000 to one family, $240,000 to one family in their pocket. And this is reality, not a guess. These measures are not shameful or buying votes, but rather improving the lives of Guyanese school children. Honorable Mr. Speaker, Honorable Ms. Finance, at yesterday's presentation spoke about equity. Honorable member came to this house and lectured us about putting the poor people first. Mr. Speaker, honorable member seems to be losing her memories and has a dead brain. I want to remind my Guyanese brothers and sisters that the same APNUFC, upon assuming office in 2015, forget about the poor people. Instead of giving the poor first, they increase their salary 50%. Instead of giving the poor first, the APNUFC take away $10,000 Because We Care cash grant from the poor school children. Instead of giving the poor first, they dismiss 2,000 CSOs. Instead of giving the poor first, they take away subsidies from pensioners. Instead of giving the poor first, they impose 200 new taxes to the poor. And I can go on and on. Mr. Speaker, 2023 781.9 budget is a budget that will bring relief and transform Amerindians and all Guyanese under One Guyana initiative. Mr. Speaker, a One Guyana government does not only care about one sector. Our elderly pension has increased 60% since 2020, from $20,500 to $33,000 in 2023. In addition, Mr. Speaker, our senior citizens have benefited from one-off cash grant of $25,000 and $28,000 in 2022, respectively.
Honorable member, I want you to benefit from an extension, so let's get someone to move that.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask that my honourable colleague is given time to conclude his presentation.
Thank you, Honorable Minister Teixeira. Honorable member, you have 5 minutes to conclude.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Water is life, so in 2023, $1.4 billion will be spent on for further upgrade and extension of water supply in hinterland of regions 1, 2, 7, and 9. Mr. Speaker, in August 2022, I visited Iseneru Tasrin Isanu. Sad to say, Mr. Speaker, the then APNUFC, who now speak about equity, forget to give the poor with potable water to the residents of Tasrin and Iseneru. Mr. Speaker, today as I speak, Tasrin, Iseneru, Kamrang, Juwala, and Wandang will now enjoy the flow of water in their cups, and their cups will continue to overflow under the PPPC government. Thanks to Mr. Colin Crewell, who visited these areas in the later part of 2022 to commission this water system. Mr. Speaker, in health sector, we have done a lot of work on health center. For the first time in Kamrang is soon to have a functioning new theater that will, with the new equipment and improved laboratory dental services. First time surgeries will be done in Kamrang District Hospital under the PPPC government. Improved health services, extension of health facilities with attending government medical officer at Mbamaday, Kaikan, Ichirumbang, Purima, Juwala, to name a few. Mr. Speaker, the government has trained 20 community health workers in Region 7 as part of PPC government plan to improve health services in Amerindian communities, and will continue to train the young people in the respective region in order for them to return to their respective village to give their services to their village. So, Mr. Speaker, I can go on, but I want to conclude, Mr. Speaker, that I've been hearing from the opposition side about friends and families. But I want to let you know, or the House know, that we are friends and family, even the opposition side. That is why spouse of the honorable member on the down Hastings get contracts every year from the government, and he alone benefit from the contract. Whereas the village council should have get the contract, he gets the contract. That because he's our friends and families in our region. Mr. Speaker, because you are our friends and families, your grandchildren, your children will be benefited from it because we care cash grant. Because you are our friends and family, your grandmother, your grandfather will be benefited from increased pension, Mr. Speaker. Because you are our family, we on the government side is calling or appealing on the opposition to be part of the solution by joining the government and pass the budget 2023. That should be noted as being part of the solution and not a problem. So, Mr. Speaker, I commend and support the budget 2023, $781.9 billion, with no new taxes be passed in the House, and I thank you.